What is going on, YouTube? I'm super excited to be here and I'm starting a new segment and I need your help. While this segment will be mainly based on your interaction with the channel, that means I'm going to answer your questions, share your tips, and maybe even share your work that you've been sharing with me. Now I need your help to find a name for this segment. So go ahead, leave me a suggestion in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate your help in coming up with a name for this segment. All right, let's start by answering the first question, and that is what kind of CPL that I use. And to be honest and very transparent, I haven't tried anything else than this B&W CPL filter. This was the first CPL filter I bought and I've been using it ever since. And I'll leave you a link to it in the description below. Now also Chris, who's a regular on the channel, have shared this photo with me and he's using the B&W CPL filter. Awesome photo, by the way, Chris. Thank you for sharing this. Now Ben from Chromatic Admiration have shared this with me and check him out, that's his Instagram account. He's using a newer CPL filter, which I think I've heard about. To be honest, I don't see anything wrong with this photo. I know a lot of you maybe have been using Tiffin and other brands. And that brings me to Jeffrey's question about what makes a CPL filter better than the others. And in my mind, there are two things really that I can think of. One is the build quality, and number two is the materials that they have used to build that CPL filter. And to be honest, the only way to find out is having all these sets of CPLs and trying them out in the same photo. All right, so this is a tip from Cole. And he says the easiest way to blend CPL exposures is to throw the top one into the darken mode. Genius! Why didn't I think of that? Now we have to give that a try, Cole. We have to give that a try because that is so mind-blowing. So you say darken. You're absolutely right. That's awesome. That's a golden tip, Cole. Thank you so much. Now here's another great tip by Chris, and he says you need to be careful when you use the CPL. Sometimes you just don't want to eliminate all reflections, otherwise it will look like a matte paint. Let me show you what he means exactly. So this is the photo that was shared by Chris. Now imagine for a second if this reflection of the highlights were there in the car, then it would have been a bit boring. And I have to agree with you, Chris. You need to be very careful when you use CPL filters. Otherwise, you will end up with a matte look. Now, the next question is from Samuel, and he's asking, do you use CPL filters in low light? Now, if you think of it, if it was too dark and there is nothing reflecting out of the car or the objects that you're trying to shoot, then it doesn't really matter if you have a CPL filter or not. However, if you have something that is reflecting, that you might want to try eliminating it. All right, and this one goes to Mark and Mega White Pony. Cool name. For fixing my ColorFX Pro 4. So moving Google's folder from the Adobe Photoshop 2017 from the plugins, just copied this and I went back to 2018 CC and then went to the plugins and just pasted it here. Additionally, I went to the settings and went to after clicking and then set it to apply the filter effect to the current layer. Click OK and that just works. Thank you. It doesn't crash anymore. All right, and this one is from R Media. It's about how do I store my files. And to be honest, I'm not good with organization overall, but I used Lightroom. So I have them all organized here in the catalog. And once I'm done with the photos, I move them to an external hard drive that I can access. Pretty simple, straightforward. To organize them by year, and you can organize them the way you like. So a year, maybe a month, and project name. And that is how I organize my files, basically. All right, so the last one is from Philip, and he shared this with me. And to be honest, I really like how you shot the car. I think it's a little bit hot over here, so you need to be careful when you strobe the car. Make sure the light is soft and try not to point the strobe or the flash directly to the car, but rather the spill over of the flash itself, so the light quality kind of thing. And now I'm going to show you how do I create flares. And to be honest, I've learned that from one of the videos that I watched, and I'll leave the link to it in the description below. But I'll go ahead and show you how I do it. Alright, and I'll be using this photo to create a flare, and we'll be basically complementing the, I'd say an overexposed area over here to create that flare and that look. So the first thing that I would do is create a layer and select a brush. Make sure it's a white brush and a very soft brush. I'll put the flow up to 14%. Make sure it's soft. And I'll just create a point and I will duplicate that layer. I'm gonna just increase the size of this, transform, and make it quite big. And then I'll add a hue and saturation layer, adjustment layer, and I'm going to tie it to the layer below it. And then I'll click colorize. And before we go ahead with this, I'll move back to the duplicate that we created and set its blending mode to soft light. And then I'm gonna go back to the adjustment layer. I'll increase the saturation. And then look at that. Bring the lightness down, and that creates a flare. Now you need to find the right amount and then adjust the hue to determine the color of the flare. So let's say something like that. Now I'll put them all in a group. I'll call this flare. Now you can control that flare, make it bigger, smaller, or whatever you'd like to do with it. Say this big, it's quite big. And then move it just here. And look at that. Alright, so what really matters is finding the right spot to complement the light source in your image. So if that would have been here, it will look quite wrong. And if you put it here, it will look very wrong. So you need to find the right spot for it to complement the light in your image. All right, and this is it. I hope you've enjoyed this segment. Now, I need your help. I need you to come up with a name for it. Like I said, I can't think of any names right now, and any suggestion would be really helpful and I'd be grateful. And as always, thank you for watching.